Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, technology may improve attraction loading. More Bluey merch arrives at the resort.
Hints for this year's Boogie Bash, and we go into the jungle and more. DL Weekly starts now.
This is your captain speaking to you from the wheelhouse. I'd like to welcome all of you aboard the DL Weekly podcast. For safe passage on our trip, please do not sit or climb on the outside railings. And be sure to watch your children. The water can be unpredictable in these parts, and we'd sure hate to lose any of you.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of April 29th, 2026. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Alex Stewart.
Filling in while Tag is off enjoying his lovely Disney Cruise Line vacation. So thank you so much for being here, Alex.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be aboard while he's also aboard.
Well, we would like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, though, we'd like to give a special shout out to Lori D, Ruben O, Bill S, and Stephen W for your continued support. If you'd like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, plus a bunch of other really fun perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now with that, let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, the line, please pull on the yellow tab, may be headed to Yesterland. Disney has filed a new patent for a system that could help improve the ride, load, and dispatch times. The new system uses cameras and various sensors to verify that rider restraints are properly secured. Alex, I'm so excited about your thoughts on this since you have firsthand experience.
Yes, and as I heard and was reading through this, I'm really curious if this is actually going to work. So,
Okay.
and I guess I should say if this is going to work as this blog post assumes that it will.
Sure.
Because one of the big things that you look at, and listener, if you don't know beforehand, I used to be a Jungle Cruise skipper in the park. I was also a Big Thunder Mountain miner in the park, and I also worked at the Opera House in the park. And obviously, we didn't have any restraints on Jungle Cruise or in the Opera House. Some people probably wished we were able to restrain them in the Opera House because it's so rip-roaring fun.
Yeah.
But on the wildest ride in the wilderness, we did have to check restraints. Now, ours wasn't a pull on the yellow tab. It was a make sure that the bar is down.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things is realistically, we can do a visual check, but because of multiple layers of safety requirements, we were required to ensure that everybody was pulling up on those. So we had that additional check.
Yeah.
I'm really hesitant to think that Disney would be able to pull that out from a liability standpoint and just rely on the computer systems to visually monitor that, because we already have that. We have that kind of monitoring, especially in things like Indiana Jones Adventure. All of the modern attractions, they've got indicators where there's a buckle that's not been buckled, where they've got a restraint that's not fully restrained. So I find it really strange that they would do this additionally when they're already still checking. And so I'm wondering if just an added layer of extra safety, which I appreciate.
Yeah, like if this is like an enhancement of the current system type thing.
Yeah.
This article talks about how they had something similar at the dinosaur ride over in Walt Disney, well, R.I.P. Dinosaur.
R.I.P.
That used to be there. And I don't have enough, I'm not as familiar because it was at Walt Disney World and Animal Kingdom. So I'm curious about that because like you mentioned, like I've noticed being someone who's never worked at the parks, if you ride like Indiana Jones Adventure, if there's only 3 people in your row, that cast member will actually buckle that seatbelt because otherwise it's setting something off and not going to allow you to, depart. So I'm curious about this because there's some that I'm like, maybe this would be helpful, like maybe Radiator Springs Racers, instead of having that pause moment there, they can kind of make that go a little bit better. But I'm overall very curious.
Well, and I'm curious just how much time it's going to actually save in the loading process. is it negligible, or is it actually going to be a considerable amount of time? Because I mean, to me, this is satisfying two of the Disney keys. Listener, if you don't know this, Disney has operating keys that they base their entire philosophy off of. So essentially, the way that it goes in the hierarchy is it is safety, courtesy, efficiency, show, and inclusion. Those are the 5 keys of how Disney operates. And you see that those safety, courtesy are the first 2. And there was always debate about the efficiency and show. Do you actually sacrifice the show for the sake of efficiency? And do you sacrifice efficiency for the sake of courtesy? And so those were things that were heavily debated, especially in the corporate circles at Disney all the time. Yeah. And this is one of those areas where I look and say, is it going to compromise courtesy or efficiency, or is it going to, I should say, maximize efficiency while compromising potential safety? And with safety being the number 1 key, they're never going to compromise that one. Yeah. So I'm really curious what the play is here. And I wish, Teresa, I could tell you that I remembered what the loading process was like on Dinosaur, because we just went in January and I totally didn't even think about it, because they're the same ride systems for Dinosaur and for Indiana Jones Adventure. And I don't remember if they had us check belts on Dinosaur. Now I'm mad that I didn't remember.
Ooh, well, listeners, if any of you recently were in Animal Kingdom and got to ride Dinosaur one last time before it went fully extinct, and if you remember, please let us know, because that's a good point, Alex. Yeah, if there was something different. It was interesting that this article called Dinosaur out specifically. So I feel like there had to have been something different, right? Or I don't know.
I would guess so. I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
I just saw somebody on social media wearing earrings that were yellow straps. And so I'm going to be sad if those do disappear.
It's kind of like the Flick card, right? It's like this weird underground icon of the parks. Like, you really need to know.
You have to be a deep dork to love those pull tabs.
Yeah, but there's like all sorts of, like, James, Tag's husband, has a t-shirt that looks like a big Flick card, like one of the red, please return, you're doing your duty by helping ensure what the wait times are, if they're accurate or not, getting the card handed to you.
Oh, that's amazing.
That. Yeah.
And how many of those get pocketed right away? That was something we always dealt with. That's hilarious. I love it. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the Disney animation team has been hard at work on some new things coming to Disney Plus. Something called Songs in Sign Language is a collection of reanimated songs into American Sign Language versions, with Hiram Osman along with more than 20 animators working with Cataline Sacchetti. Did I say that correctly?
That sounds good to me.
Well, and other performers from Deaf West Theater to reimagine the lyrics for The Next Right Thing from Frozen 2, Beyond from Moana 2, and We Don't Talk About Bruno from Encanto.
Have you seen any of these? Disney kind of teased and released these on social media over the weekend.
I didn't, to be completely honest, until I saw this article. And when I saw it, I was gobsmacked. It's pretty incredible.
It's really incredible, because if you watch even just the clips, I'm sure the full length songs are going to be even more impressive. They did it in a way that looks like, it doesn't look like it was redone, if that makes sense. It looks like this is how the scene was in the movie and how it played out. It is so smooth. And part of the process, they were actually talking with the director. They did not use AI or anything. They went back to the original animation of these scenes and redid it from scratch almost in some cases. So they used this, they're able to reuse some of it, but also redid a lot of it to ensure that this just looked like it was part of the movie all along. And I just think that's fantastic.
So they basically reanimated from scratch each one of these segments. Is that how they did it?
Yeah, they kind of used the original files as the base and then reanimated the characters. So they didn't have to reanimate the full scene necessarily, because the backgrounds and that sort of stuff didn't change, but reanimated the characters, including the facial expressions, hand movements, and all that. So they reanimated the characters, which is no small feat.
No, not at all. Now, my question is, are they going to be Are they going to be integrating these into their respective films, or are these just kind of one-offs, like you just watch the clip here and there?
It sounds like it's like a one-off collection that they're going to be releasing on Disney Plus.
Man, that would be incredible if they actually integrated these into upcoming films.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's so cool. There's if you go to the link in the show notes, which was an article by SnackChat, they have a little link here that someone did like a side by side of the original versus the ASL version to like show how much these just look like they're the same thing as far as like scene by scene backgrounds, all that, and it's just an update to the character, and I think that's incredible.
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the level of care that was taken and detail that was taken to recreate these, because I do think, as you said earlier, with the rise of AI, they could have just tried to use some sort of generative tool to create this. But the fact that they are showcasing the fact that we did not use artificial intelligence to create this, I think is another a very, how do I say this, respectable nod in that way. I appreciate that.
It's one of those things that like they didn't have to do it, but they did it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I think
is what
awesome.
makes Disney different, right?
100%. I mean, again, especially when you see in a visual media like this, you could have subtitles.
Yeah.
Subtitles are totally acceptable. But again, we're bringing back the fifth key. What are we talking about? But inclusion there. And we are including those with disabilities. And so I do appreciate that deeply.
Yeah.
So well done. Good on you, Disney.
Well, to help celebrate Bluey's best day ever, new merchandise will be coming to the resort, as well as online and at Walt Disney World. Items include character headbands, friendship bracelets, clothing items, keychains, and of course, pins. These items can be found at the Fantasyland Theater. There's a little kiosk set up for your merchandise needs for Bluey. Also at the Emporium, the Fantasy Fair, Gifts, Elias & Co., and at the World of Disney.
You know, I look at this and say, it's about time, Disney.
I was going to say, are you a Bluey household? You've got two younger ones.
I don't know who isn't a Bluey household if they have kids and they have a heartbeat. My word. But some of this stuff actually looks very good. Are you going to, because this is obviously not in my wheelhouse as far as picking up this kind of merch goes, but are you going to be purchasing any of this stuff, do you think?
So, fun fact about me that the listeners have gotten to learn is I had never watched a Bluey episode prior to Bluey coming to the Disney parks because I do not have any. I have furry children and they look like Bluey and Bingo.
Okay.
So they don't watch
Couple of
Bluey
healers.
and Bingo. Yep. Actually,
right.
yeah, one of them is a Blue healer. Actually, that's funny.
I love it.
So I never got to watch Bluey, and I confessed this on the podcast, and I believe it was Lindsay from Concierge called me out. She's like, "What?" And
Good.
so she gave me a recommendation of a Bluey episode.
Which did you watch the move, the one where they move?
I don't remember what it was now. But the funny thing was, she gave me this recommendation right before we went on our trip to San Francisco.
Okay.
And Delta Airlines just so happened to have Bluey as one of the options, and that episode was there. So I've now watched Bluey. So Vern and I are going to Disneyland later in May.
All right.
And I'm actually really looking forward to this experience. Even though I'm like a Bluey newbie, this looks so fun and so adorable.
I think this is so great for kids. I think that, again, what I love about Bluey is it is genuinely content that adults and kids alike can really get behind. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head the name of the episode, and I'm sure listeners will just absolutely eviscerate me because I've forgotten it. But you do need to watch the episode. It's like a 28-minute episode where they move. And I am here to tell you right now, I was crying by the end of the episode because it is so moving, and the way that they put that episode together, and the characters are just so authentic in that show that I appreciate that there's snark and there's sarcasm and there's heart and there's endearment. It is just absolutely spectacular. And I think it's about darn time that they had some representation in the park, because kids especially have been wanting this. And having it over in whatever it was, like the Disney Junior corner or wherever they were kind of relegated for, I think, a small, short amount of time, just doesn't give them enough. I do think the placement of the best day ever is a very odd placement in Fantasyland right outside of Toontown. But I guess where else are you going to put those dogs?
Yeah, I do feel bad because my entertainment-loving heart would much rather see the theater be used as a theater, but this is a good thing to do with that. I'd rather not see it empty and have.
Is it not a show? For some reason, I thought they had a stage show with it.
A little bit of a show, but it's kind of more of an experience. So they've done other things over there that were like they did one for Pixar Fest, and it's kind of short little shows, but they're not really like like you sit down and watch a play type show, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And I'm assuming it's a limited time thing is kind of what they're projecting it to be.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Who knows? Maybe the popularity will just demand that Bluey is here to stay.
Well, I think it's really interesting the fact that Bluey is a licensed show, that it's not even a Disney original IP, which is impressive.
That is true. That's a great thing to point out that I think a lot of people, especially if you're not deep into Disney, kind of just assume all animated things are somehow tied to Disney because, well, let's face it, a lot of them are. But Bluey is not.
Yeah. Well, and not to go too deep into my fatherhood here, but there used to be a very, very popular show a few years ago that was, again, licensed by Disney called PJ Masks. And PJ Masks was a massive hit. And it was actually it was from a French animation studio. And this stuff exploded amongst youngsters. And it blew my mind that they never had any representation of PJ Masks in the park, like literally Bluey sized, like that was how big the PJ Masks were. And Disney, I think it's because there was licensing problems. Sure. And I think that this is why we haven't had Bluey before, is because of the licensing. Yeah. And man, Bluey definitely is the Pixar in this situation that they're like, we have all the cards right now, Disney, because we've got something real good on our hands.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know if you saw reports of the first day that this opened and what the line situation ended up being. The line to get into Bluey's Best Day Ever was all the way wrapped, like, in the fantasy theater area, down the Small World corridor and like ended at Pixie Hollow.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
like
insane.
It was wildly. It's calmed down now, so it's not. I don't want to scare anybody who's going to be there and thinking, "Oh, no way, we're going to wait through that." It has definitely calmed down more. It's much more relaxed as far as being able to get into the experience. But yeah, that was the opening day demand, was a line stretching to Pixie Hollow.
Wow,
isn't that
that's
wild?
Incredible. Well, I mean, it goes to show that for folks like yourself, there's absolutely demand for live entertainment still, despite what my Grinchy heart says about it.
That's why there's rides too. There's something for everyone, Alex.
And speaking of rides, Teresa, the Jungle Cruise is back from its most recent refurbishment. And from what we can see, the jungle's looking in tip-top shape, with some local residents looking extra refreshed. The most noticeable change is over in the elephant bathing pool. Everyone's favorite bathing elephant, Bertha, appears to be a bit more animated than before and is clearly excited to have guests able to visit her again. Teresa, are you so stoked to see all of this new spit shine on the Jungle Cruise when you go soon?
Oh, I may have had like a divorce on my hands because, Alex, I don't know if I've told you this, but that is Vern, my husband's favorite attraction.
Well, we have something in common.
To the point that he was so proud of himself, and this has never happened, but last year when we went, we rode several times, as we do, and not once, but twice did the skipper actually ask him if he had previously been a skip. Which
that's impressive.
Not. He was like, that is like, I didn't even know that was a compliment that I needed in my life. And that was like the highest compliment. He absolutely loves it. So I told him, I said, guess what? The Jungle Cruise is back up. And he looked at me like, what do you mean that there was a point in time that it wasn't, type of thing. Like he just, in his mind, it's there, perfect, every day, all day. So he's going to be extra excited.
The Jungle Cruise is interesting because, I mean, having worked on it and been out in the actual jungle, and we've talked about this before, that the Jungle Cruise itself is basically its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
And we've said this, that if you were to let Disney go forever, everything else would go dilapidated, but the jungle would actually thrive. It would continue to propagate. And with that, it requires a lot of refurbishment because the jungle takes things over all the time. And when you're even looking in boat storage and stuff like that, it's pretty amazing when you're a skipper and you're watching them refurb that thing, because they do have divers down in there. Sometimes they'll drain the river, but a lot of times they'll just go down and have divers dredging for all of the stuff that could potentially cause things like derailments and stuff like that. So it's very intensive. It's pretty gross and grimy because it is just the nature of the jungle. But it does take an extra special layer of refurbishment versus something like, say, Mr. Toad or something along those lines.
Yeah, that makes sense. The one thing that I always think of when we're going through, and especially when it has these refurbishments, is all of those animatronics in the water, the hippos, the elephants, poor Bertha, who is still in that bath, and how much, that's a lot of wear and tear just being in the water and, the grime and whatever. You've got spiders and stuff on land that can, build spider webs or whatever, but that feels a little easier than having to, combat like the algae and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, and I will say this. I think that people love the Walt Disney World Bertha. I don't. I don't love the Walt Disney World Bertha. And the reason is it's a very, very Mark Davis, in almost like a caricature of Mark Davis's work, if that can be possible, because he is a caricature.
Yeah.
His work is caricaturistic. But I think that what I love about our jungle is the animals in the Disneyland jungle are more photorealistic.
Sure. In
in that way, whereas in the Jungle Cruise at Walt Disney World, they were originally way more cartoonish. So to see Bertha get a little bit more animated, I'm a little skeptical. I know I'm going to love it when I see it, probably. But I'm still a little skeptical.
Yeah. For those of you that are curious that won't be taking a trip around the jungle anytime soon, we do have an Instagram post that was taken from David from Fresh Baked. It was the opening day of the Jungle Cruise. He does highlight Bertha so you can see what we're talking about. And she just moves more is what it is. Because I don't remember her moving quite as much and as smoothly as she was in this video. So I think that's a positive, but I get where you're saying, like, okay, don't go too far though.
This far, no further.
Yeah. What did you think though? Because he pointed out that he thinks the piranha may have been removed.
The piranha, well, and this, I think you're probably right, because the piranhas never worked. They never worked. And really, it was a sensor problem, and there was a hydraulic issue that they would always deal with, because it was kind of like on an air pressure system.
Sure, yeah.
And the biggest issue that you would have with those is the water level had to be perfect in order for the show effect to actually work. Because the design of the piranhas was for them never to come out of the water. But because they're so low, the water was so low all the time, you would see that spinning wheel of piranha, and it would, again, break the realism of the Disneyland's version of the Jungle Cruise. And so it was only supposed to bubble underneath the surface and not spit water all over the place uncontrollably like we see it. So that would be my guess why they pulled that out, is because it was just an inconsistent attraction because of the way the waterways worked in there.
I'm curious then why they actually had little fish on there if we weren't really supposed to see them.
Because you're supposed to see them. You're supposed to see them under the water. Yeah, you're supposed to see them almost churning and like schooling and whatever they do when piranha eat something.
Got it. But not
they
like
weren't
they're
supposed.
Jumping.
Exactly. It wasn't. It was never supposed to look like they're jumping out of the water.
Got it.
So fun little fact right there.
I'm so excited that this was in this week's news, because I'm like, oh, we're gonna have all the insight, all the insight. Well, it is halfway to Halloween, and to celebrate, Disney has posted some clues for us to try and decipher. The hints will unlock some ghoulish surprises of what we can expect at both Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party over at Walt Disney World and Oogie Boogie Bash at the Disneyland Resort. We were joking in a chat that this kind of was like, if you were a Taylor Swift fan, this is your time to be like a Disney person to decipher things. Because, yeah, I'm kind of stumped. Someone pointed out with the Walt Disney World one that certain things were capitalized in the caption. So that gave a hint as to when the party may start.
Oh, wow. That's real deep.
Like, yeah.
That's real deep.
Yeah. Yeah. And like they were looking at the clock and trying, okay, because it spells out August with the capital letters in the thing.
Well, of course.
Isn't
I mean,
that
Disney
crazy?
starts their Halloweens in like May now.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just keep Halloween going from May until April of the next year.
Halloween is not just a moment. It's an entire season now.
I mean, obviously, you're seeing a lot of listener. We're looking at this Instagram post, and I'm assuming this is supposed to be a tarot card. Is that what we're looking at
It's looking
here?
like one, yeah. Looks like a tarot card.
And one thing that I didn't even notice until this very moment, on the top hat, you've got the shadow of the green alien from Toy Story, which is kind of interesting.
I'm so perplexed by that clue because I don't know what the little green man alien from Toy Story and a top hat would have in common.
Well, I'm assuming the top hat represents the baddie from Princess and the Frog, right?
Dr. Facilier. Could.
Yeah.
He has definitely been a part of the Oogie Boogie Bash. He's part of the Frightfully Fun Parade, and he was a character that you got to like walk around and meet and greet. But I just feel like they could have put the alien shadow anywhere. So why is it on the top hat? I'm probably looking too deep into this, but I'm like stuck on that one. And then we've got some tentacles, so that is given right Ursula vibes. That's
Ursula.
a pretty easy one. You've got a tiny like Maleficent Funko Pop that's on the shelf there, which Maleficent has been there for years, so that's not really a surprise. Same thing with like the Poison Apple. Evil Queen has also been there for years. But then there's a couple other ones that I am a little, I don't know if they're just there or if it's supposed to be a hint. I'm looking at like the quill and ink and then also the like strand of pearls.
And I'm also seeing like a necklacey brooch thing in the top left corner that I can't figure out what's going on with that.
So if you look so get your
like
detective glasses
figures
out. Yep. So if you get really in, that's probably like an Agatha reference because it's like the mother maiden crone. And Agatha has been there for many, many years. So that's the thought with that.
Well, I'm surprised that we're not seeing anything. I mean, what is this book about? It looks like a creep book. Like it's like the Necronomicon or something like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's Wanda.
Oh, it could be. It could be Wanda.
Wanda. I'm having to like zoom in on my page here so I can look at this better.
I mean,
and then there's like the purple shoe. I'm not.
Yeah, that purple shoe. Wait, is that the evil stepmother from one of those princess movies?
Yeah, could be.
From Cinderella. Didn't one of them wear like a black dress and have those kind of boots on, and she had like tall whitish gray hair?
Oh, Lady Tremaine?
Maybe. Teresa, I'm going to be honest and say I've never seen really a princess movie.
No, that's
from
okay.
Disney. I'm really bad at that stuff.
That's okay.
I've never been to an Oogie Boogie, so I'm like the worst person to analyze this. And I'm like, I see a teacup. Yeah. I see a book on its side.
It's tough because, again, like I said, what's a hint and what's just part of the background? Which the other one I want to point out real quick is we've got a pumpkin with a crown, and then we also on the next shelf have a jar of deadly nightshade. So that would definitely be Jack and Sally from the Night Before Christmas. But
maybe the quill is Peter Quill. Maybe they're going to have a zombie version of Peter Quill. No, I'm grasping at this point.
And then the thing that's like the most obvious Disney reference that I don't know is the Haunted Mansion portrait.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if is the top hat maybe the Hatbox Ghost then? But then again, why have the little green man guy on there? And then you've got what's her name? Sally Slater there on her little tightrope. So maybe she'll be a meet and greet character. Usually what they do is they give you hints as to who the new villains are that are going to come out for that year. But a lot of these are ones that have been there, whether it's been in a treat trail or in the Frightfully Fun Parade. So it's hard to know.
Well, maybe they're doing like greatest hits.
Maybe.
They're like,
yeah, maybe.
That's why the alien one, the Green Man, would be hilarious if you've got all of these villains and then you just got them.
What's the villain there? The Claw?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh.
But, though, they did start out with Sid was one of the villains for quite a while.
I've seen Instagram posts of that, and I'm actually very impressed with what they did.
Yeah, that guy was spot on. Like, to the point that I'm like, did this person walk in for some other reason? And they're like, you would be perfect for,
He's like,
for
who,
this.
me?
Yeah. But all joking aside, if you ever have a chance, Alex, we've gotten to go to a couple of different After Dark nights, and Oogie Boogie Bash is, I think, the favorite.
Really?
Followed by Pride Night. Pride Night's just like something that you can't really tangibly explain. And it's not really anything that Disney does specifically. It's just the overall environment and vibe. But Oogie Boogie Bash is like everything you love about Disney type stuff. Okay, maybe not rides. There are rides, right? But like the treat trails are very immersive and very fun. You've got the Frightfully Fun Parade. They do the Villains Grove, which is they just completely change the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail from what you normally see it as into this really immersive walkthrough experience. So it's very different. And I feel like it's more doable and accessible because a lot of the lines move well because they're treat trails. So you get to interact with the villains that are in there, but it's not like, stop and take your picture and everybody is waiting and takes forever type interaction. So
if I were to do an After Dark event, it would be Oogie Boogie. Like if I chose any one of them, it would definitely be Oogie Boogie, primarily because the season. I love that season around the park. But it does seem to be the grand master of all of them. That is the penultimate nightly event. Star Wars Night seems pretty awesome to me too. Yeah. But I'll maybe 2026 is the year.
One of these days. One of these seasons.
Only time will tell, and we'll see what happens from this tarot reading.
Yeah.
Yoo-hoo! Hello, everybody! It's me, Heimlich. My stomach is so empty. Hey, help me to go find something to eat. Come on, everybody. Here we go.
Speaking of Star Wars Night, we're actually heading on over to SnackChat, where we're going to talk about some of the delightful food items that you can experience if you are one of the few lucky folks that get to go experience Star Wars Night. So that's one of the fun things about these After Dark nights is, right, the, experience itself, but then they always have special food items that you can only get during party nights. Anything sticking out to you with these tantalizing photos that Laughing Place has shared?
Oh, Teresa, I'm a treat man. I'm always a treat man. And I got to say that if anybody listens to the Backside of Water podcast, you know exactly what I'm looking at right now, which is that Twin Saber funnel cake fries found at the Stage Door Cafe and the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree. These things look delightful.
I'm not a funnel cake person, but funnel cake fries there's just something more like elevated and better. Maybe it's because I don't have to worry as much about the powdered sugar and that sort of thing. And they're just a little bit easier to eat because they're individual. So it's easier to, instead of like having to, pull apart the thing. They look
I
good.
feel like powdered sugar is the glitter of the food world that people just avoid it. And I get that. But I mean, next to a churro, a funnel cake is one of my favorite things, and they are few and far between at a Disney park. And so I appreciate this.
Like you can get the traditional one right at the Stage Door Cafe for sure. But they do seem to be leaning into funnel cake fries on the seasonal menu more often now, which is good.
And I think it's because it is scratching both itches, that you've got the funnel cake option, but you don't have that powdered sugar all over the place. Teresa, are you a savory, a salty, or a sweeter?
So it kind of depends. Usually I go for the cold brews, which there's not.
Yeah.
So I've been very happy in recent years with all the different cold brew options. But it kind of depends, because sometimes it just depends. But like on this one, I'm actually looking more at, what is it? The Bantha Golgi.
I've wondered how do you pronounce that thing?
Yeah,
it looks delicious.
I'm a sucker for the garlic cheesy pretzel bread, which is what this is on. So, yeah.
What is that meat in there? I can't. Does it say what it is?
It doesn't say, but typically like bulgogi is like a beef or sometimes maybe like a pork. So this is looking beef like to me, but I could be wrong.
My only concern, and I guess this is not a concern because 90% of people love this, it's just not my bag, is it almost looks like it could be borderline banh mi, and I'm not a huge banh mi fan.
Sure.
I just there's something about it that's a little bit on the vinegary side.
Sure.
And it hurts my feelings a bit because I feel like it's a trick sandwich in that way. I don't want any vinegar in my sandwich.
Yeah, no, totally get it.
But I do think one of the things that I love is, what is this? The Pizza 5 Blossom bread.
Yeah, I was just looking at this too.
It looks like you're being served 1/2 portion from the Force Awakens when she gets that bread and it like she puts the mixture in and it like explodes into the pan in the movie. Oh wait, what? This says I thought that this might be the official introduction to pizza into Star Wars canon until I was reminded you could get it on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Oh, that's right, you could get pizza. Yeah, they're just little slices of pizza, but they didn't call it pizza. They called it something.
Yeah.
Fancy. Now, dewback chili noodles, aren't those already at Docking Bay 7, like in general?
I think so. And so I'm assuming Docking Bay 7 is kind of an interesting place because like Pym Test Kitchen, it feels like they refresh the menu pretty often, which I love because I think that's fun, even though they sometimes take away my favorites. But so I'm curious if the dewback chili noodles are on the current menu or if it's maybe something from the past that they kind of rebrought out for Star Wars night.
It could be. Can I tell you something, Teresa? And again, this is because all I do is eat and dream Disney. There is an impossible meal at Docking Bay 7 that I will choose over everything else, and they changed the recipe and ruined it.
Oh no, that
ruined
is
it.
One of our favorites. It was like the Felucian spread, kefta Felucian spread or something like that.
Something like that. It had the hummus and it had the pita.
Yeah,
they ruined it.
The giant meat-esque ball things that weren't actually meatballs. They ruined it. Oh,
we went in February and ate it, and it was the most disappointed I've been in Disney since ever.
Really?
My heart broke because Go ahead.
Have you tried the Ronto-less wrap?
Oh, I love the Ronto-less wrap, and I love the Ronto full wrap too.
Yeah. I prefer the Ronto-less wrap to the Ronto wrap. And the Ronto wrap is stellar, but it's, there's just something about that Ronto-less wrap. But speaking of plant-based items for our plant-based friends, there is a Loomis wrap, which you can find at Ronto Roasters. There is not really a description, though, as to what it is, but it does look delightful.
Whatever that meat is in there, I think that it looks like it was from Dagobah. Like I think that it's from a swamp planet of some sort. There you go.
And then the last thing on the list that I wanted to point out, because that's what I'm a sucker for, Alex, is the drinks. I always love all the fun different drinks, and we've got a Sorgan cooler that comes with a rechargeable Darth Vader lightsaber swizzle stick, or
I love that
rechargeable Luke Skywalker swizzle stick. But you can find this at the Galactic Grill, Stage Door Cafe, Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, and the Harbor Galley. It does not explain what this concoction is, but we've got a gummy frog hanging off the side. We've got some boba popping pearls that look like frog eggs nestled on the bottom there, and then some sort of blue juice.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of boba? Do you like the boba?
I do like boba.
Yeah. I think that this is going to be right up the alley of many folks who love primarily drinks in Galaxy's Edge, because they lean heavy into boba in that world, especially the popping ones.
Yes.
I gotta say also, these dark side and light side churros I think will be interesting. I'm curious to see what the flavors are. I mean, part of me just really hopes that they lean into this light side one that's blue dusted and just make it the grossest thing in the world and make it a blue raspberry churro.
What would you do for the red? Like cherry, or would you do something like a savory churro and have it be like a spicy something or other?
Yeah, the first thing that I saw when I saw that churro was a cinnamon, like like hard cinnamon.
Yeah,
but not like But at the same time, now that you say, if we were to do something like Taki or something like that, like a super spicy churro, Oh, Teresa, you're on to something. I appreciate that.
So this all stems from, Vern's most favorite treat at the resort is the churros. And he is somewhat of a
Vern and I are like the
connoisseur.
same person.
Yeah, you basically are now that that's hilarious. But he tried, it was something else, Alex. It was a like nacho cheese churro.
And?
He loves it. Loved it. It was just a seasonal thing. It was a churro, not like cinnamon. It was not like in the cinnamon sugar at all. And it had nacho cheese drizzled over it with crushed up, I don't remember what they called them, but they were like the spicy Cheetos crushed up on top of them. And he loved it. I tried it. It was not my thing. I think because when I think churro, my brain immediately goes to like sweet sugary. So my palate was just not comprehending the savory spiciness that this churro was.
Did it have it didn't have cinnamon and sugar on it also? It was just a savory churro.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, when was this?
It was a few years ago, and it was at Willie's Churro Cart. It's like burned in my brain, this experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if it ever comes back, I'm going to have to try that because I try to get every weird, bizarre churro I can into my gullet.
That one needs to be top of the list then, because that has by far, I think, been the most unique churro that I've seen come to Disneyland.
I think Vern and I need to put like a tier, like a churro tier list
you guys
together.
Can have a little like ranking of the churros.
I love that. The ranking of the churros. That's actually, I think, a silly symphony from 1948. The ranking of the churros.
That's amazing. Well, it's that time again for our friend Eric over at Concierge to catch us up on other Disney news.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Johnson with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Teg and Teresa cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. So let's jump right in. We begin our voyage once again at sea. That means Disney Cruise Line has yet another deal for you, and this one is a doozy. For select sailings between October 1st, 2026 to March 27th, 2027, kids sail for 50% off. Yeah, 50% off. Here are the details. 2 guests in the room need to pay the full fare. But then 3 folks, 17 and under, only have to shell out 50% of said fare. Yes, you can make them pay too if they've got enough cash. Everybody has to stay in the same stateroom. And in a fun change, you can even use Disney Vacation Club points. That's a rare discount for DVC members. You do have to book your room by June 14th, so you don't have a lot of time. If you want to learn about which cruises are available, send Concierge a message. We are happy to walk you through all of the options. If you'd like to spend your time on land, why not head to Japan? Adventures by Disney offers an incredible tour. This adventure takes you to 4 different locations around the country, with stays in 5 different luxury hotels. It includes 9 breakfasts, 5 lunches, 6 dinners, and 2 expert Disney guides. This incredible trip lasts 10 days. You get to eat excellent cuisine. You get to learn about ancient drum techniques. You can visit ancient temples, art museums, and a sumo demonstration. This sounds like one of those trips you will be talking about forever, and we can set you up. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both DLWeekly and Concierge. Then message your expert travel planners over at Concierge. They look forward to planning something special for you and yours. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Thanks, Eric. We are actually taking a short vacation, if you will, from Trivia Land this week. But don't worry, it will be back next week, and I'm sure Vern will have some incredible listener questions for us to answer. Well, this week for our discussion topic, we're just going to get to know Alex a little bit better. He's going to be hanging around for the next couple of weeks while Tag is off enjoying his transatlantic cruise. So yeah, Alex, we have had you on several times. We've known you for several years now at this point. But can you remind the listeners, what is your Disney story?
So my Disney story starts many a year ago. I was somebody who didn't grow up with Disney in my world. My parents were like, Disney? Oh, that's just a little weird. Who wants to go and hang out at parks all day? That sounds stressful. And I remember they went to Walt Disney World while I was in utero. And they picked up this book, and I will never forget this book as long as I live, Teresa. It was like a promotional book, basically, that just had photos of all the different attractions and experiences. And it was just a few years after Epcot had opened. And so Epcot, there was the picture on the cover was when Mickey Mouse used to stand on top of Epcot and they had like him waving up there. Yeah. And I would look at that and say, one day I will be there. One day that will be me. And I would pore over the photos in there. Well, long story short, I was a fan of the parks. I ended up getting a job there, which is a story in and of itself. It's a long, long story. But basically, in a nutshell, Disney, my journey towards Disney started really when I got a job at the parks. And it was the first time that I personally realized that, holy mackerel, chasing a dream can actually come true. Yeah. Because it was always my dream to be a Jungle Cruise skipper as a job. And when it happened, it just opened my world up. And the friends that I met through working at the Disney parks, the experiences that I had working at the Disney parks was so different than anything I'd ever expected it to be, that it really was a formative experience in my life. I mean, I talk about it all the time that before my kids, who I've got a 7 and an 11-year-old, before either one of them steps foot in a college, they will be working at Disney for a year.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Because the way I look at it is I'm like, this Disney showed me what I wanted to be with my life while I was working at Disney. I started because of a guy named Gonzalo Duran. Gonzalo, if you're listening, I mention you all the time because you deserve all the credit for this, my friend. But Gonzalo worked for something called the Disney University, which was the training branch of the Walt Disney Company. And I sat through his class that was line of business training, LOB. And basically, it comes a few weeks into your actual training, and they teach you all the boring stuff, like this is how to stay in your green zone. This is how you stay safe. Don't hurt your back. All that kind of stuff. And Gonzalo, I was in the class with him, and he was like, you should come teach this with us. And I was like, maybe I will. So when the time came for you to turn in your application, I turned mine in. I got hired into the training branch of the Walt Disney Company, got certified as a trainer. And it was during that time that I was like, wow, this teaching thing is actually really awesome. Like, this is something that I'm super stoked behind. And so when my time at Disney ended, I came back to Colorado, went to school to become a teacher. 15 years later, I'm still an educator. And it was all because of that first step that I took while I was watching the 51st Magical Years video that Steve Martin hosted in the Opera House back in the day. I was watching that. I was like, I should get a job here. And it was all because I took that step and followed my dream to get a job at Disney. And I couldn't recommend it more to people because it's everything you'd hope it would be.
That is crazy. Okay, so if you have been listening for a while, this is not the first time Alex has told his Disney story. However, I learned so many new things about your, more in detail about your Disney story. That's fascinating that Disney, was the thing that kind of helped you figure out and navigate what your, calling in life was to do. What was the thing that just clicked the best with you? And the thing that's crazy is it's not even anything really to do with theme parks.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, education is a big thing and training and that sort of thing, but it's not like directly correlated. So that's
it was the behind the scenes thing that really triggered me. And again, what it was especially was the fact that Disney is so incredible at creating community and culture in their companies. Yeah. And that's one of the most amazing parts about working there is the people that you get connected with. And I mean, to this day, I still walk through the parks and I know people that I worked with. I mean, I was a cast member there, almost 20 years ago. Yet there's still people that I run into, whether they're in management, if they're still working attractions, all over the place. And it is those people that you connect with. I mean, the amount of marriages that come out of Disney is mind-boggling. It's all because the culture is so good. So yeah, my story is very different because again, as we've talked before, I'm not like a huge merch monster or anything like that or experiences. I'm just fascinated by what Walt Disney did in that park and how he created one of the greatest urban developments in modern history. And being able to walk every single inch of that place and not get yelled at for it was a dream come true.
So on that note, what were some of the like craziest like things that you got to kind of explore, shall we say, that you're able to share with the podcast community?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that stand out. One of the big things, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but one of the cool perks that you get or used to get, I think you still do, is you had free reign over the studios. That you could take your badge as a cast member and go up to Walt Disney Studios. And I mean, obviously you couldn't walk into sound stages and stuff like that, but you could walk the grounds, you could explore. And one of the biggest things that I think that they don't do anymore that they did then is you had access to every page in the archives. So you could go in and pour over anything you wanted in the Walt Disney archives. Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was absolutely mind-boggling to walk in there and see all of the stuff that you had at your fingertips. And if you were really like friendly with some of the archivists, they would bring you out some like super vintage stuff. You'd have to wear gloves. You would have to like make sure that the room was cleared out, and they would show you these iconic pieces of Disney history.
Dang.
Just as a cast member.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's cool. That is super cool.
That was one of the biggest and best things that you got to do up there. I mean, again, just walking backstage behind Toontown is an experience. It's crazy. The other thing that you get as a cast member, especially when you're working attractions, you've got generally it's like a 3 o'clock call time, 3 a.m. call time for one of your training shifts.
Oh, wow.
And it's an early morning shift. And walking down Main Street at 3 a.m. is a mind freak like you would never experience because all of the lights are on. So it's basically like a Costco parking lot is what Main Street looks like at 4 a.m. And you've got local either sports radio or talk radio playing over the loudspeakers.
So weird.
It was so weird. Whenever you're there, you're like, oh, well, this used to be magical. And now it's just weird. As you see like F-150 trucks driving down Main Street, it's very different after dark. And there's a reason why we don't have a spend the night in the castle sort of experience at Disneyland. Otherwise, that's what you'd be seeing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very magical.
Exactly. So those are the two big things that really stand out. I'll always have nostalgia around Big Thunder Mountain at dawn. That's a pretty awesome experience. To be on there during sunrise is pretty epic.
I can imagine. A couple trips ago, we just happened to be back there. Tag was making so much fun of me. And actually, it was after we had you on and talked to you about your time at Big Thunder. And you were talking about like how there was a certain time of day that everything just like just really was gorgeous in the evening. And we happened to just be there at that time. And I remember stopping and I'm like, this must be what Alex was talking about. Because like the colors just felt more saturated and more like rich and vibrant and almost like it was glowing. Yeah.
Yep.
We stood there for a while and watched a few trains go by. I'm like, this is incredible. And I sat there and took a bunch of pictures and Tag was like shaking his head.
But it's pure magic because it's those moments that make you stop and say, they think of everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely breathtaking. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you got to experience
we weren't down in the queue, so we weren't like, completely immersed in it. We were just walking past and I'm like, whoa, look at the sun on Big Thunder.
Those rocks look like they're on fire at that time, right at dusk, right after the sun is set. It makes everything, it makes the oranges oranger like no one's business in Big Thunder Mountain. It's like Technicolor vivid.
Yeah, no, it's spectacular. So speaking of attractions, we know you've worked on several. So we've talked about Jungle Cruise. We've talked about Big Thunder. You also spent some time in the Tiki Room.
Yes.
Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. And I think some time in Tarzan's Treehouse, if I'm remembering.
Yes.
Way back to when we first had you on. So what is your favorite attraction?
So as we were talking earlier, a lot of people assume that the Jungle Cruise is my favorite attraction. It was my favorite attraction to work by far.
Yeah.
I still think that it is one of the greatest places in the park. But I think, so again, when it comes to the heart, Jungle Cruise is my favorite in my heart. But when it comes to, if somebody were to say, Alex, I can only ride one Disney ride, and you can only tell me just one suggestion, what's it going to be? It wouldn't be the Jungle Cruise. My one ride would be Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh, so what is it about pirates?
I think whenever I ride through Pirates of the Caribbean, I see Walt Disney at his best.
Ooh, that's good.
I don't think that Walt Disney ever made anything better in his entire career. And that's saying something. That I think that his career high was Pirates of the Caribbean. It mixed everything that his life was about. A lot of people don't realize this, but Walt Disney was essentially a design efficiency expert. People are like, oh, well, he was into animation. Well, no, he directed people in animation. He wasn't even a director. He would direct the process of animation. And what he was so good at was making it efficient. And that's why Disney was known for what they were known for, was excellence and efficiency at what they did. And then when it comes to the parks, almost when you look at every design book, every architect looks back and says, Walt Disney's urban design of Disneyland is unmatched. And you see that probably with people you interview on the show all the time, talking about that expertise. And when you see Pirates of the Caribbean, it mixes Walt Disney's expertise with storytelling, his efficiency from the ride vehicle standpoint that was created at the World's Fair, that he was able to push people through those attractions, the expertise of audio animatronics that he designed, he invented, he created, all in a technologically advanced, fully immersed story.
Yeah.
There is nothing better that Walt Disney did. You could look at Mary Poppins, and it's a shadow of the greatness of Pirates of the Caribbean. You look at things like Steamboat Willie, and yes, it shows that it was leading to the excellence that was created for something like Pirates of the Caribbean. I really do strongly believe that Pirates of the Caribbean is Walt Disney's greatest achievement in his entire life.
That is so interesting. I love that because whenever people have, there's specific attractions that we say, what is it about? And it's usually pirates and haunted, because there's just something that's almost inexplicable that just seems to really draw in the fan base that then is so passionate about that attraction. And so it's kind of like we always ask, like, what is it? And the thing that's wild is it's different for every person as to like the why. But you kind of nailed it on the head with both of them, because a lot of things are like the layers, because you can go through that attraction what feels like a million times and somehow never get sick of it, because there's just so many different layers of so many things that are happening, so many different things that you can notice that are going on, so many different details in every one of those rooms that if you try hard enough, you're going to notice something new every single time. A lot of us tend to just always kind of focus in on the same spots in different attractions, but like it's so I think I'm trying to remember. We were just talking with somebody about this. It's so interesting to just force yourself, like, if you always look at, I don't know. So we'll talk about like the auctioneer scene. If you're always focusing on red, next time you go on that, try so hard to look at anything in that scene other than red. My favorite is to like, you're supposed to focus on the left side of the boat. I like looking at the right side of the boat because I'm not supposed to look there. So it's like, well, what's over there? You know, and there's stuff everywhere. So it's fascinating. But the efficiency thing too, I didn't realize this, but we saw there was some folks that made a Lego model of Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean to see like what that looks like in the layers that it is. It's incredible. Like, it's just, I don't understand. Like, it makes my brain hurt even more to be like, what? Like, what do you mean? This is like when you're in this scene, you're right next to where you dumped in from the waterfall or, you know, whatever. So it's just wild.
The fact that you're never actually underground in that attraction. I mean, you're 3 feet below the surface at the most.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can create these sets that they did to present this story. And I mean, think about it. Whenever Pirates of the Caribbean says it's a 30-minute wait, it's never more than 20 minutes, no matter how long that ride is, because that thing pushes people through it like no other attraction in the park.
Except for the brief moment when we had Lightning Lane, and then it was kind of a cluster. And like that's the point of why like some of these attractions, Lightning Lane hurts that, like really hurts that attraction, and Pirates was one of them because it's a people eater.
And people don't realize that it's essentially just a conveyor belt on water. That's all it does, is you can push them out and get them around so quickly and so effectively. And that's why I really do think, and this is totally going off topic, but I do think that Walt Disney's future was mostly water-based attractions after Small World, because he was like, holy mackerel, this is the answer to everything. We control their experience. We control how many people can get through, and everybody's satisfied.
Yeah, between those and then like the Omnimover system.
Yeah.
Or like the most,
which
like,
even Omnimover's great. It really is effective at what it does, but you do not see the efficiency. That the big thing that hurts Haunted Mansion is that opening show scene. That opening show scene is what causes all of the wait times to stack up on Haunted Mansion. And again, there's a reason why it's that way, is because Walt Disney passed away before that attraction was built. I would put my kids' college fund, which is like $30, on the fact that if Walt Disney was alive, you would never have that elevator sequence. You would say, this takes too much time. Nope, move it on. Oh, yeah.
And it's such an iconic part of the attraction now.
It's iconic, yes. But I also think that Walt could have done it better. I do. Sure. And I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Haunted Mansion is in the top 5.
Yeah.
But I think Haunted Mansion has some fatal flaws that show what the park did after Walt died. And Haunted Mansion made all the mistakes that Pirates of the Caribbean perfected. One day I'm going to do an entire podcast series that contrasts those two and shows just how great Pirates was and how a victim of its time Haunted Mansion is, because it can't decide what it is.
Yeah.
And that's because Walt was gone.
I kind of like the transit, I kind of like it with that transition. Yeah. But I agree. I would love to see what it would have been if he would have lived longer to have more of a hand in that and have more, give more direction to it too. Because he was just in the fun planning, blue sky stage of it, and didn't really get to, see it past the blue sky type stage, which, I mean, a lot of really cool things came out of that blue sky stage. And I think it's really, really incredible that some of those things are finally off the paper, so to speak, that were just stuck on a piece of paper in the archives for years and years and years, that we have, the little candle wax man can be found now in the mansion, and he hadn't existed prior. And same thing with the ghost fish tank is now actually at sea on 2 different ships. So anyways, we could go on and on and on on these things. But
One day we will.
One day we will. One day we will. Well, we first spoke with our friends over at Where in the Park back on episode 265. Amanda, Kevin, and Kim create amazing and fun seek and find scavenger hunt games in theme parks all over the United States. So whether you want to challenge at the Disneyland Resort or want to explore a new place like Universal Studios, Knott's Berry Farm, or even SeaWorld, there are fun game packs for everyone. Where in the Park is perfect for a first-time visit to experience the fun small details that makes the parks wonderful places, or to challenge yourself on your 1000th visit to see how well you know all of the details. Where in the Park's for you, visit the link in the show notes to get started. Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, my friends, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast, Andy Mack for all of the wonderful character transitions, and to James D. and Aaron C. for supporting at the Club 33 level.
I am the podcast that flaps in the night. I am Tag and Teresa's tangent that takes you down the rabbit hole. I am DLWeekly,